In the silence between stars, some lines are never meant to be crossed. For 3 centuries, the universal red cross painted on gleaming white hulls meant mercy. Even in war's darkest hour, that symbol was a promise, no matter your species. No matter your crimes on a hospital ship, you were safe. When the UNS Mercy's light drifted through the void, its presence was hope in a galaxy full of scars. But hope is fragile. The night they shattered that promise, everything changed, not just for humans, but for everyone who ever dared to believe in something better. The hospital ship Mercy's light was 3 kilometers long, gleaming against the swirling clouds of Kepler-4 Inside, the best medical technology known to human or alien saved lives every day. Dr. Eileen Vasquez wiped sweat from her brow, just off a 12-hour surgery on a wounded Solari soldier and enemy. But here, just another patient. On the bridge, Captain Sarah Chun never took her eyes from the viewport, always ready for the next crisis. A chime sounded. Captain, distress call from the Kepler station. Gas leak. 17 researchers, 14 human, 3 Alaran. 6 hours before. It's uninhabitable. Sarah turned instantly to her communications officer. Tell them we're coming. Prep all medical bays for intake. Engines thrummed. In the wards, medics checked supplies and readied oxygen masks for the Alarans. No one asked which side anyone was on. That was the law here. An oath sworn, never broken. Rescue went smoothly. The researchers arrived shaken, coughing, but alive. Alaran's skin shone green in the medbay light. One of them, despite their people's rivalry with Earth, thanked Dr. Vasquez with a trembling nod. Your hand's very gentle. Vasquez smiled. Exhaustion briefly forgotten hours later, with the researchers resting. The Mercy's light prepared to leave the system. Their next stop, delivering vaccines to a refugee camp orbiting a shattered moon. As the stars blurred in hyperspace, the crew shared a rare, quiet confidence that it didn't last. The jump ended too soon, alarms shrieking. On the screens, 12 Vorthic supremacy warships. The Vorthic had enslaved 6 worlds, but had always respected medical ships until now. Captain, said the tactical officer, always taught. They're hailing us. The bridge filled with the scaly, brutal face of Commander Czar. His yellow eyes were cold, amused. Human vessel, your shields and engines are military grade. You carry weapons. We are a hospital ship under galactic law, Sarah replied. You are welcome to board and inspect us. You insult us with your lies, Czar spat. Prepare to be destroyed. The channel went dead. The silence that followed was worse than any battle cry. All hands braced for impact. Sarah barked. Evacuate patients to reinforce sections. Get the message out broadcast on all emergency frequencies. All bands, all languages. The first volley shook the ship. Shields flared and died. Medical Bay 7 vented into space. 2 patients lost instantly. Dr. Vasquez, halfway to the central core, grabbed a wounded researcher and pulled her through a closing blast door. Another barrage. Screams echoed over coms. The bridge shook so hard Sarah thought it would break. Apart, we're losing hull integrity. Escape pods. No, Sarah whispered. On the screens, escape pods launched and were vaporized by Vorthic cannons, one after another. Keep broadcasting, Sarah said. Her voice shook, but her hands were steady. Let the galaxy see this. On every emergency channel, her words rang out. This is Captain Sarah Chun of the UNS Mercy's Light. We are under attack by the Vorthic supremacy. They have crossed the line that must never be crossed. We ask for help, not just for us, but for the sanctity of life itself. As the final barrage tore the ship apart, Sarah's last transmission ended with a prayer and a promise. May God have mercy on us all. And across human space, a fire was lit. Sarah's last words echoed across the stars, bouncing from relay to relay reaching Earth. The colonies, even those who had never heard her name. For one instant, the galaxy seemed to stop. On Earth, Admiral Marcus Steele sat in his garden, watching rain drip from the leaves. He had buried friends, lost years to war, and had finally learned peace. But when the call came, a scrambled message, urgent and trembling, he listened. Then he stood and put on the old uniform. News channels flashed images of the Mercy's light burning. Across human worlds, children who had once drawn red crosses in school looked at their parents and asked why anyone would do such a thing. On alien stations, even bitter rivals watched in silence. The Terran Defense Council met in emergency session. Some shouted for caution, some for all-out war. Steele's voice, quiet but unbreakable, cut through the noise. If we let this stand, there will never be mercy anywhere. Not for our people. Not for theirs. Today, we answer. Across Earth and her colonies, the call went out, Operation Righteous Wrath. Ships long silent thundered to life. Old dreadnoughts, hastily rearmed. New destroyers bristling with strange technology. Even civilian freighters signed on pilots who'd lost friends on the Mercy's light. Shipyards blazed with activity. Welders and AI alike working without pause. Steele's command center thrummed with energy. Bring everyone who can fly. Fix or fight. I don't care if they're green as grass or gray as the moon. We stand together now. Alien allies, some motivated by fear, others by shared horror-orphaned ships and medical crews. The Vorthic crossed this line today, said the Zalari ambassador. Tomorrow it could be us. In the deep of space, a spy aboard the Vorthic flagship watched humans massing at the borders. He sent a last, frantic message. They're coming. And they are not alone. In the days that followed, the story of the Mercy's light swept the galaxy. Even those who'd fought humans before found themselves silently hoping for their victory. On the wall of every ship, in every mess hall and engine bay, a simple sign appeared, a red cross, hastily painted, sometimes smudged with grease or tears. As Steele's fleet assembled hundreds of ships. More than anyone thought Earth could muster, an engineer named Lynn watched from the hangar deck. She remembered her brother, a medic lost with the Mercies. Light, she soldered the final plate onto her fighter and whispered, for them, for all of us. When the order finally came jump to Vorthic space, the mood wasn't rage or hunger for revenge. It was cold and clear and absolute. Some things, once broken, can never be mended. But some things, when threatened, awaken a power no enemy can understand. And as the jump points flared, and the fleet vanished into hyperspace, the galaxy waited to see what humanity would do. The first Vorthic outpost on the rim of supremacy space was little more than a listening post-crew board, confidence unshaken. Their sensors blinked. Officers dismissed the readings. Human fleet? Impossible. No one would dare. Then the sky tore open. Hundreds of Terran ships, old, new, human, and allied, roared out of hyperspace. Steele's flagship, the Indomitable, led the way, flanked by 2 Zalari cruisers. The message was clear. Humanity did not stand alone. Vorthic commanders laughed at first, confident in their numbers. They ordered their ships forward in a tight wall, planning to sweep the humans away with raw firepower. But human tactics were never predictable. Civilian freighters broke formation, dumping clouds of chaff and decoys. Drone swarms reprogrammed by civilian hackers just days ago scrambled enemy sensors. Allied medics coordinated rescue ships at the rear, plucking Vorthic and human survivors alike from drifting hulls. In the chaos, Lieutenant Park, now piloting a gunship, her hands steady despite the loss of her captain, led a flight straight through enemy lines. The Vorthic hadn't expected such reckless boldness. They fell back, losing the first of many ships. Supreme Commander Vorak, watching from his palace, sneered. They bring nurses to a war, he said. Break them. He didn't understand. Every human ship fought for the Mercy's light, not for conquest, but for the memory of those lost and for the promise that no one would ever strike at healers. Again, mid-battle, a Vorthic ship targeted the medical flotilla. A battered civilian freighter intercepted the torpedoes, sacrificing itself. On its hull, the red cross burned bright even as the ship died. Steele's orders were simple. No quarter for those who target medics, but spare the wounded. Show them we are not monsters. They must remember the difference. At the heart of the fight, Dr. Vasquez's apprentice, now a combat medic, worked in a rescue shuttle. He'd patched Vorthic and Terran wounds alike, refusing to let the hate win. You bleed the same as us, he whispered to a stunned enemy officer as the first major battle ended. The Vorthic reeled. They expected brutality, found relentless precision. They expected vengeance, found resolve. The galaxy watched, shocked. The message was clear. This was not a war of conquest, but of justice. But as the fleet advanced deeper, Vorthic commanders realized their empire had never faced an enemy who fought not out of hate, but out of memory and hope. The supreme commanders' next order was desperate. Burn their worlds if you must. They cannot be allowed to win. And humanity, hearts heavy but hands steady, prepared for what came next. With the Vorthic lines shattered, humanity pushed deeper, not for conquest, but to liberate prisoners and strike at the heart of the supremacy. Worlds once ruled by fear erupted into chaos and hope. Prison camps were stormed, cells opened. Survivors stumbled into the sunlight, uncertain if they were dreaming. On one grim world, Dr. Vasquez's apprentice led a strike team through tunnels thick with smoke and dust. They found the remains of Mercy's Light's medical staff, some broken, some alive. The reunion, tearful and battered, carried a weight no words could express. "We came for you," he said simply. Elsewhere, soldiers faced choices that blurred the line between justice and revenge. A platoon found a Vorthic medical station, doctors cowering inside. The human commander lowered her weapon, remembering the oath. "No harm to healers," she said. Her troops, angry and tired, obeyed. Losses mounted. Friends fell. Each casualty was another scar, another promise never to forget. But through it all, humanity held the line. Civilians who had lost everything now joined the effort. Old engineers fixing ships, children passing water and bandages. Supreme Commander Vorak, watching his empire unravel, sent desperate orders. No surrender. No mercy. But his own people, terrified and disillusioned, began to question. In the ruins of the Vorthic palace, Steele and his marines advanced. The air crackled with tension as they reached the throne room. Vorak, still proud, still scornful, met Steele's eyes. "You destroy what you claim to defend," Vorak snarled. "Mercy, justice, they are lies." Steele's reply was cold. "We defend the idea, even if it means fighting, even if it means dying." With Vorak's capture, resistance crumbled. Vorthic officers surrendered. Civilians cheered. For the first time, the Red Cross was painted not just on human ships, but on liberated buildings, a symbol that hope was returning. But the hardest choice remained. The galaxy waited. Would humanity avenge the Mercy's Light with total destruction? Or would they honor her memory by offering a chance at peace? Steele stood before the fleet, his voice carried to every ship. "We do not fight for vengeance. We fight so that no one will ever fear a healer again." In that moment, across 1,000 worlds, the meaning of the Red Cross was reborn. The war ended not in fire, but in silence. The Vorthic government surrendered. War criminals, those who had ordered the attack on the Mercy's Light, were taken in chains to face a tribunal. The Supreme Commander himself was made to watch as his empire signed the new Galactic Accord. The accord was simple: no medical ship, no healer, no civilian would ever be targeted again. Any who violated this law would face the united might of every species that signed. This time, no one hesitated to join. On Earth, a memorial rose in the heart of Geneva, a shining statue of the Mercy's Light, surrounded by plaques bearing the names of the lost. But it was more than a monument to grief. It was a promise to the future. Human and alien medics stood together at the ends joined. Children from many worlds played beneath the monument, red crosses painted on their jackets. Lynn, the engineer who'd lost her brother, saw her own daughter laughing with a Vorthic boy. Something inside her eased. Old wounds, at last, began to heal. Across the galaxy. New hospital ships, jointly crewed, red crosses bold on their hulls, ventured into troubled space. Each one a testament to what had been lost, and what had been won. Alien ambassadors spoke, in hushed tones, about what humanity had done. Not just the might of their fleet, but their willingness to stand for a principle. even at the cost of their own blood. Steele, now an old man again, visited the memorial every year. He touched the names, remembering not the war, but the moment the galaxy changed, not out of hate, but out of hope got, and in every corner of the stars. The story was told again and again. They struck at our healers and found not weakness, but a force united not just by anger, but by hope. They crossed the line. Humanity answered. The line had been drawn. And for the first time in memory, everyone, human and alien alike, knew that some things, once sacred, could be made sacred again.